Okay, hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm doing books that I'm unhauling or books that I'm getting out of my collection simply because I'm not going to read them or I've already read them and I don't want to keep them. The reason I don't keep books in my collection is because I only keep books that have sentimental value to me, books that I have annotated, or books that I really enjoyed. And these books just didn't make the cut. If you see a book you like in here, please don't take it personally. It's just I didn't like the book or I'm just never going to read it. And no one's going to change my mind at this point because a lot of these books have been in my collection for a year or more. So let's get on with it. So I have two bags. So let's get started. So if you hear rustling, that's what that is. So the first book I am unhauling is Until the End by Christopher Pike. I've had this book in my collection 7 years now and I haven't read it, and I keep keeping it thinking, oh, I'll read it. I was just too young when I bought it. I was just making excuses to keep it. I don't want this. I'm not going to read it. It's a murder mystery, which I would enjoy now, but it's just not something I have time to invest in. So, the next book I am unhauling is The Hive by Gil Hornby. I don't really know why I bought this book. I think I just liked the cover, and so I bought it. I bought it pretty cheap. I bought it for $3, but I'm just not interested in keeping it or reading it, so it's leaving. The third book I am unhauling is The Tale of Despero by Kate DeCamillo. But I have had this for 3 years, and it's a really young book. I think it's like middle grade, if not less, so I'm just frankly just getting rid of it. Next book I'm getting rid of is The Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp. I read the first couple chapters of this a couple years ago, didn't like it, so I'm not interested in restarting it, so it's going. The next book I got is How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas C. Foster. I got this for a lit class I was taking, never used it, thought I would buy it because I'm going to be an English teacher, but I'm just not interested in this, so I'm getting rid of it. The next book I'm getting rid of is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vanzini. Just not interested in this. I would have been interested in it a couple years ago, but it's past its time. The next book I'm getting rid of is Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. For those of you that don't know, I have gripe with John Green, not personally, but like with his writing and his characters. So I'm getting rid of every John Green book I own, except for The Fault in Our Stars, which is the only John Green book I like. The next book I'm getting rid of is Rumble by Ellen Hopkins. I really like Ellen Hopkins, really like this book. It's just, I don't want to keep it in my collection. I'm not going to reread it. It had no sentimental value for me, so it's going. So the next one I bought when I was going through like a Gravity Falls phase, and it is Gravity Falls Journal 3 by Alex Hirsch. I'm just not into Gravity Falls anymore. I'm 20 years old, so Gravity Falls was good, but me and Gravity Falls are kind of over. Okay, on to bag number 2. So the first book in here is I'm the Cheese by Robert Cormier? Don't know. This was recommended to me by a teacher in high school, and I just never read it, and I'm never going to read it, so it's going. The next book I'm getting rid of is Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls by Lynn Wingarden. I've tried to read this approximately 3 times and couldn't get into it, so I'm not keeping it in my collection. It's a beautiful cover. I think the premise is interesting. It's just not going to work out for me. Next book I'm getting rid of is Slade House by David Mitchell. I read the first chapter of this and didn't like it. I thought it was kind of slow, so even though it's a short book, so it's gotta find a new home. The next book is Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. I have gripe with John Green again with his writing, not a fan of it. Maureen Johnson, loved Truly Devious, but I've heard that this book is really dated and all the characters in all of these stories are kind of so I'm just not interested in keeping it. The next book I'm getting rid of is Aragon by Christopher Polini. I'm just not interested in reading this. I thought I was when I requested it for a Christmas gift, and I'm just not into it anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. The next book I'm getting rid of is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I liked the beginning of this book, but the ending kind of ruined it for me. I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of dumb. I hate to use that word, but I thought it was kind of rushed and it didn't make a lot of sense, so I'm getting rid of this. I also need to take the tabs out before I get rid of it. Next book I'm getting rid of is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I was not a fan of this book. I'm not a fan of Rainbow Rowell's books in general because I don't really like the endings. The only book I'm a fan of is Carry On, and I am going to read Wayward Son, so. The next two books I'm getting rid of is The Old Willis Place and All the Lovely Bad Ones by Mary Downing Hahn. I loved these type of books by Mary Downing Hahn when I was a kid. I read them all throughout middle school. However, I am not in middle school anymore. These are way out of my reading range. They've been in my collection since middle school, since I was 13 years old, so 7 years, and they frankly just need to go. The next book I'm getting rid of is Once We Were by Kat Zhang. I am getting rid of this one because I never finished the first book and it's not in my collection anymore, so this book needs to go. It's the second book in the Hybrid Chronicles, which has a very interesting premise. It's where in this world people are born with two souls inside their bodies, and typically one of the souls is recessive and the other is dominant, and so the recessive soul will die off as you get older, but Eva, the recessive soul, and Addie, the dominant soul, Eva never faded away, so she's still in the body, and the government found out, and they were after them in the first book. And I never really got that far in it, so this one needs to go. So those are all the books I'm going to unhaul. As for what I'm going to be doing with them, I am giving them to a used bookstore in town to receive store credit. I have more books I'm going to unhaul at the end of the year, and those ones I'm probably going to sell, but for now these ones are just going to a used bookstore. I just wanted to say that the used bookstore did not want all of these books, so some of them are for sale on my Depop, which will be linked in the description down below. If you are interested in any of them, go and check to see if they're there. That's the end of the video, and if you liked it, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up, commented, and subscribed to help me grow my channel. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, I know I have the same outfit on in the past 3 videos. They were all filmed in the same day, I promise. I'm not just gross.